Target's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be! Dax corner and it goes, Glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
It would help if I was unmuted. There we go. Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to another live edition of On the Other Side with me, Ryan Hildred from Rovers Chat. It was defeat last time out for Rovers as we lost 2-1 at home to Norwich City, whereas Rotherham were buoyed by an excellent 2-0 victory at home to Bristol City. So they will come to Ewood Park in very buoyant mood indeed. I'm delighted to be joined by Rotherham fan Mick from the Rotherham United podcast. How are you this evening, Mick?
I'm not too bad at all, thank you, Ryan. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right, actually. I'm not bad, all things considered, so it's all good. But Mick, before we start, just a reminder to our fans that we are sponsored by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Thank you to the guys at 6yardsout.com for their very kind sponsorship this season. Rovers fans, as ever on our live streams, please do interact with me and Mick this evening. Hit us with your comments to talk about anything Rotherham or anything Rovers or anything about the game. We will pick them up through the show. If you are not following us on Twitter, we are Rovers_chat on Twitter. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it is Rovers Chat, where you can stay up to date with all of our very latest live content, including our live streams tomorrow. So, Mick, we are going to make a start if we can, and we'll start with the match preview. So, it's quite funny, this twist of fate, actually. Last time out, we had Norwich City, and I said to him, they're the seasoned yo-yo team, as I described them, as they've been bouncing up and down between the Championship and Premier League. And in Rotherham, we've got a very similar team here.
Yeah.
You know, it's promotion or relegation between League One and the Championship in 6 of the last 8 seasons. So I'm going to ask you what I asked Connor, the Norwich fan. How does that feel as a fan? And do you miss those seasons of stability and mediocrity?
I don't know. It's a very good question. The promotions are fantastic, aren't they? It's fantastic. And the way a club of our size, we aren't going to get a promotion unless we have a relegation first. You know what I mean? We know our level. We know that this is as realistically as high as we're going to get. You know, Championship football. It's what we'd like to maintain if we can, but we're also realistic. You know, we've got a small budget. We don't pay stupid money for players. We don't pay stupid wages, but we've been burned previously, obviously with financial issues, shall we say? So you know, I'd like to think that we could probably at least maintain a couple of 3 seasons up here, but who knows? But to be honest with you, I don't know as I'm really bothered. You know, I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy obviously we enjoy the promotions, and it's nice to have that battle, that fight, and what have you, to try and stay in the league. So we've not been successful the last couple of times out. So we'll see what happens this year. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think you've half answered my my second question, actually. So before these 8 seasons, no, you're all right. It's good. So before these 8 seasons, where you've had the 6 of them, where you've gone up and down, it was 6 seasons at League Two level, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where you didn't probably do much at all. So is there that feeling of just being happy to be up at Championship level now and competing with clubs, you know, like Rovers and bigger clubs coming down from the Premier League?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, those 6 years were dark days. There were some really dark days. We went into administration. I think we had a total of something like 30 points deducted from us over a period of a number of seasons. And we were down there with Bournemouth and Luton. And this is the first season actually since we were in League Two with those two clubs. All three of us got a points deduction. It's the first season we've all been together in the same league. There were dark days. We were playing out of the town. We didn't have a ground. We had a group of fans in charge of the club. It was horrible. What we've got now is a million miles away, an absolute million miles away, and we couldn't be happier with it. We've got a fantastic stadium, a fantastic chairman who wants to run a club which he accepts. Obviously, it's not going to be a profitable business. Football is not a profitable business, is it? It can't be. But he runs a tight ship, and he's always said, I'm not going to be spending millions and millions of pounds on players. We need to make sure we've got something for a rainy day. And it started raining in March, didn't it, this year? And but the thing is, we're all right. We're better off this season with no crowds than we were in League One with crowds financially. Allegedly, I don't know how that works, but apparently that's the case. So we've come a long way in that time, and it's a much better place now, even with the ups and downs of, as you say, yo-yo in between the divisions.
That's it. And if we do look at this season, I've spoken to a lot of fans, on this show and as part of pre-season stuff on our site as well. It's a wide open season at the top and bottom, I think. At the bottom, which is, if we're being realistic, is where Rotherham are going to be. I think there's like 8 or 9 clubs that you could make a case for being relegated down there.
Yeah.
Even more going for the playoffs. So with that yo-yoing that you've had, and actually with the state of some clubs and the state of the division at the moment, do you think Rotherham, with what you've just said about your finances and how stable you are going to try and take advantage of a disrupted season and avoid relegation, and really consolidate at this level?
It would be nice. It depends how things go on the pitch, and I mean, we'll come on to that, I'm sure. It's been very much up and down. There are quite a few clubs in a lot worse position than we are. But the Championship, for me, the last 2 seasons we've been in it, and this season, it appears to me that the quality of the teams on the pitch between sort of 23rd, 24th, whatever it is, and 6th or 7th, the difference is tiny. It's just a tiny little bit of quality here and there. Obviously, the top few tend to run away with it, kind of. But there isn't a lot, I don't think, in between the bulk of the division in terms of quality. So you just need that little bit of luck, and it's not something that we've been blessed with over the years. So.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of truth in what you say there, because a hot topic amongst the Rovers fans is our inability to break into the top 6, actually. There's a bit of a glass ceiling there. We've undoubtedly got some really good play, and, this season we've got lots of possession of the football. And as you say, is it that top 6 quality? We are very similar, a lot of the clubs, aren't they? And, we've lost to some teams this season. We've lost to Forest this season, and they're right down there. But they've got some quality, haven't they?
They have. They're a good side. I mean, we played them. We drew 1 apiece with them away early on in the season, and for the last 20 minutes of that game, it was like the Alamo. I mean, we just got absolutely battered out. How we came away with a point, I have absolutely no idea. They dominated us more in that 20 minutes than any other team all season. So I am quite surprised that they're down there, but. I'm quite surprised Derby are down there as well. So,
That's right. So if we just do a little nod to last season then, Mick, you came second in a very disrupted League One season where you only played 35 games in that points per game outcome. Were you always confident that you were on your way to promotion, regardless of how it panned out in the end? Were you looking like a team that was going to get that automatic promotion?
Up until the last 2 or 3 games prior to the season shutting down, yes, we were absolutely we were sure of it. We were really confident. And then those the 2 or 3 games prior to lockdown, we were awful. We just fell off a cliff. I don't know what happened. And at that point we're starting to think maybe we might be in trouble. This might be another playoff season again. So I guess the lockdown sort of came at the right time. But having said that, with the quality that we had for that division, I'm sure that was just a bit of a blip. And come May, we would have been fine. We were, without wanting to sound big-headed and partisan and everything else, Coventry and Rotherham were the best two teams in that division. There's no doubt. And obviously we got promoted, didn't we? So I suppose a bit of a false promotion. I guess it's a bit like having your GCSEs this year, isn't it? Not real GCSEs, not a real promotion, but we got there. So yeah.
Well, I'm pleased it wasn't Rovers in that position, because it would have been just like us. We would have ended up like Peterborough. We would have come eighth on the. I felt a bit sorry for them actually with the way it panned out. But you're right, bit of an odd season last season at League One and League Two, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I didn't have a lot of sympathy for Peterborough, but that's another story altogether.
So if we start to talk about your manager, and so it's Paul Warne, over 200 appearances for the Millers as a player. He's had 4 years as your manager, which is longer than Tony Mowbray, which is going some at championship level. It's obviously a really big challenge for Rotherham to compete at this level, and with some of that money sloshing about, as you've said. What's the view on Paul Warne within your fan base, particularly, with 2 promotions and 2 relegations? What's the overall opinion on him?
The vast majority are 100% behind him. And I think, obviously can't speak for everybody else, but certainly myself and Matt and Ben, who we do the podcast with, if he takes us back down again, he stays for me. He stays for good. The work he's done in the 4 years that he's been with the club, he's completely revolutionised the sort of the footballing side of the club. It's more professional now than I can ever remember it. I mean, I've been going for God only knows how long, too long, and we've always been a bit of a. Well, we've been a tin pot club. We really have. Everything on the cheap, a proper Yorkshire club. You know what I mean? If it's free, we'll have it, kind of thing. And now it's just the whole culture of the club is different, and like I said, so much more professional, and that's down to Paul Warne and his management style, and he's got players who want to play for him, and players who are coming to the club because of him rather than because they've got nowhere else to go, which is literally what we've had in the past. So for me, he will end up, in my view, probably the best manager that we've ever had, whatever happens, not necessarily because of the success that he's had, but because of what he's done for the club behind the scenes and on the field, and how he's changed it. So we love him to bits. Most of us, we have had a bit of a, I'm sure it's the same at Blackburn and every other club. You lose 3 games and all of a sudden, Teddy's start flying out at cotton, so we've just had that recently, but sadly put paid to that, hopefully.
Well, we definitely have reactionary elements to our fan base, actually, and I think there is an element of who else is available, who can come in and make that type of impact. And I think Warne and Mowbray do strike me as quite similar managers, actually, in terms of their approach and how they come across and things. Just going back onto what you said about what he's done at Rotherham, is that just exclusively, at the stadium on a match day, how you're conducting yourself, or is it things like the training ground and stuff that as well?
Yeah, it's the training ground. It's the whole package, from recruitment, training ground, from the sort of junior teams and everything. The whole lot has been completely changed, and the approach to all of it is it's completely alien to anything that we've experienced before, in a good way. So yeah.
No, it's good that, and I'm just going to pick up some of the comments we've had in here, Mick. So FM works. Rotherham got a great stadium, though. Yeah, you have. I really like your stadium because it's not one of those bowls. I really love that big stand that hangs over the rest of them. I think it's a nice stadium that you've got there, and obviously from the outside, it looks great as well.
Yeah.
Luke Kimberley, who's one of the contributors to our site, Mick. Don't sell Yorkshire too short, Mick. I mean, I'm a Lancashire boy, but you do have very nice tea, proper cup of that.
Absolutely, yeah.
FM Works coming in, can't beat Yorkshire tea, and yeah, I will third that one absolutely. But no, I think, Mick, if you just going back to what you were saying, if you consider, what state the likes of Sunderland and Bradford City, Ipswich for some part, the state that those clubs are in, actually, for you to be well run in the way that you are, it really stands you in good stead, doesn't it?
It does, and I mean we look a lot closer to home than that, and obviously we've had our problems in the past, but now our local, I'm not going to say rivals because they're not rivals, but the club that's most local to us in Sheffield Wednesday, we don't have a good relationship with, mainly because 50% of Rotherham end up down at Sheffield Wednesday's ground every weekend, so that's why we don't like them. But they are in an absolute mess. A complete and utter mess, as and they got obviously the points deduction for the dodgy ground sale, and but as a club, they're on the manager merry-go-round. They've got no money. They're trying to sell 10-year season tickets and things like this, and it's just everything about that club and the others that you mentioned there just screams trouble. It just screams, danger. And I mentioned Derby earlier on. Something's happening. I think I'm going to be doing the same sort of thing with the Derby podcast, and I'm going to ask this question because I really want to know what the hell is going on at Derby. Something feels, as an outsider, that it's not right. There's something not right there, and it usually boils down to money, doesn't it?
It does. We've obviously got our own issues as well. The amount of money that we own to Venky's is quite disturbing. And if they were to ever call that in, we would be the next Bolton. But we've had a lot of talk on our channel just about where Rovers are at now and what Mowbray's done. So similar to what you were saying about Paul Warne and what he's done off the pitch, Mowbray's done the same now. He's really addressed some of the off the pitch stuff. We've got the academy really producing players and coming into the first team now. I think for the first time in a while, Mowbray describes them as assets in the squad, moving us back into that trading club, as you would call it. So you sell an asset to generate the funds to go again the next season. And that is a more sustainable business model than getting money from Venky's all the time or doing what Sheffield Wednesday and Derby have done, isn't it? And selling that stadium.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And I mean, Brentford are a prime example of this. That they've come up to the Championship. I accept that they've probably had some investment as well, but not to the tune of everyone else. They've brought players through and they've sold them on for big money and then reinvested. And their business model in that sense, from a football point of view, seems to be really, really good. It's something that we would like to aspire to, and I'm sure obviously yourselves would as well. Rob Scott is our recruitment manager. He came from Brentford. He was an ex-Miller actually, but he came from Brentford's recruitment. And hopefully, I think he's trying to obviously do a similar sort of thing. And certainly our recruitment for this season has been probably as good as it's ever been.
Yeah, I honestly just see such similarities, probably to different levels in terms of what you're trying to achieve. But, having longevity of a manager that's got a plan off the pitch, it's, you're moving away from that short-termism, aren't you? And just trying to do things sustainably as a club. And I think that's the stuff that Mowbray has really addressed in Rovers, as it sounds like Paul Warne's done in Rotherham. So some real similarities there, Mick. That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't quite appreciated that with Rotherham, actually. So that's nice to hear. So if we go back onto Paul Warne, then in his playing style. So we've come up close to you. We've come up close to you in our League One season, and then we got promoted together in that first season back. And you always strike me first and foremost as a team that works really hard, and especially at home, you make it really difficult for anyone that goes there. I don't think I've seen us win at Rotherham, actually, just thinking about it. So it's a real match for most at home. Yeah. Has he been able to imprint a different style on you in his 4 years, or judging by your cackling? I guess not.
It's something that we talked about on our podcast this last week about after the Bristol game, because we were accused of playing anti-football. Now, I've never heard that phrase before. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know. So I literally had to look it up. And essentially it means parking the bus, basically. Aggressive and parking the bus. So I looked at that, and then I went back and looked at the stats. We had 30 attempts on goal to their 6. There were more fouls against them than there were against us. We had more corners. We were more attack. The only thing that differed was that they had a little bit more possession than us. So we play a high pressing game, really high pressing, certainly at home. But they play it for 90 minutes. They are very, very fit. And Bristol couldn't live with it. They literally could not live with it. They were. I don't know how they played again when they played yourselves, but they were absolute garbage when they played us. They really were poor. We played against Bournemouth. We were unlucky at home not to get a result from that. It ended up 1-1. We played against Brentford in the first half, ended up 0-0. Second half, we sat off. We lost 2-0. And again, against Norwich, we only lost 2-1, and that was because our defender had a bit of a rush of blood and ended up getting sent off. So one of our defenders. We press high. We are quite aggressive, but we're not sort of, we're not Wimbledon of the 80s or whatever. We're not that side that people seem to think that we are. The long ball, that sort of stuff. It's not the way that we play. It's just, but there is a lot of energy at home.
Yeah, and that's why I said the work rate. That's absolutely what I've observed over the last few seasons. You've always made it difficult for us at your stadium, certainly. And that work rate and that press is what I've noticed as well. Just to answer your question, we were a tad unlucky against Bristol City. We had lots of possession of the football, but I don't think we necessarily did the press like what you did. We played them away from home, and it was 0-0 into the final 15 minutes, and then they brought on Jeju and he won the game for him, really, and we lost 1-0. So that was a bit frustrating for us the game before last. But if you do play that press tomorrow, Barnsley a couple of games ago at Ewood had some real joy with the press, and we struggled first half in particular. We really struggled to deal with that. So if you're at the level that Barnsley do with their press, you could have some joy with that, certainly.
Well, when we played Watford last week, and for whatever reason, it just wasn't there in the first half. And by 15 minutes, we're 2-0 down. And that energy and that fight, it wasn't there. And the away game prior to that was away at Coventry, and I just don't even want to think about that. It was one of the worst performances I've seen under Paul Warne. So from a sort of Blackburn point of view, it depends which team turn up at Ewood Park tomorrow. If it's the one from Saturday, then you might have your hands full, to be honest with you. If it's the one that turned up at Coventry, fill your boots, because it's going to be double figures.
Oh dear. So if we look at your start then, Mick, I'm just looking here. I'd imagine it was a fairly expected start. 4 wins, 4 draws, 10 defeats, and you find yourself closer to the bottom of the table. What is it, 5th bottom, I think you are.
Yeah.
3 wins at home, 1 away. What's the overall start been like? Is that points? Is that a fair reflection, or should you have more points?
Yeah, I think it probably is. We've really lacked consistency, and that's the problem. But then, that's the problem for everybody, isn't it? I guess. But yeah, we've been very inconsistent, and if we can just sort of string a couple of results together, I think the confidence will come. There's no doubt in my mind. Like I think I said to you earlier on, this is probably one of the best squads I can remember since way back in the 80s. They are a really, really talented squad, but they are young. It's quite an inexperienced team, really. We've only got a couple of players who sort of in the 30s, if you like. So we'll bring that experience. Everybody else, the average age is about 22, something like that. So they are a young squad, but they are a talented squad. But with that sort of with them being that young, confidence can become an issue, can't it? So I think that has been probably our downfall so far this season.
Yeah, and away from home, we've spoken about how good you are at home, and it's the 3 wins at home, 1 away. What has the approach been away from home? I know you touched on a couple of performances there that were like chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
Your results clearly show that you are stronger at home, but are there any performances away from home where you think Rovers should take note of how you played on that day and not underestimate you?
We went to Reading and lost 3-0. But in the first half, we had 70% of the possession. They never hardly got a touch of the ball other than to score a goal. That first half against Reading was excellent, but without any cutting edge. The beginning of the season, we really struggled to create any chances. That's gone now. That part of it's gone. We are creating and we are making openings. But on the flip side of that, beginning of the season, defensively we were really good. We were all right. Now defensively, we've been a little bit suspect. We've got 7 first choice players on long-term long-term injury out of a squad of 25. We can't even put a full bench out, let alone the first team, if you like, the first choice team. So it depends who turns up tomorrow. Literally, it depends who turns up.
You've preempted another one of my questions.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, because I'm chuckling to myself because I might need to declare something on these streams in future. So I think that the only fan in the last 10 games that hasn't said anything about injuries is Brentford.
Yeah.
When we played them, they had a fairly full strength squad to pick from. We've covered injuries quite a lot on our stream because Rovers have felt quite hard done by. We've had a combination of some shorter term injuries, some mid-term injuries to the likes of Lewis Travis, who's out till January, and then long-term injuries like Bradley Dack, who's been out for the calendar year. So we've actually felt quite hard done by. But actually, I'm now just getting the sense, the more I speak to fans, this is a problem for everyone with the rate of games. So I might need to declare on the Rovers streams, we're not allowed to talk about injuries anymore because everyone's bloody got injuries. So just talk to us about your injuries. Who are they and how key are they to your squad?
Well, we've got Clark Robertson, who's a central defender, an experienced central defender, who's out with a broken foot. Sean McDonald, who was in the Bournemouth squad that won promotion from the Championship when they went up last time. Central midfielder, he's out with a broken leg. Chio Ogbene is our flying winger, and does he fly? He's absolute like lightning. He's out with a cruciate. Joe Mattock, left back, he's out with a bad back and I think an ankle injury as well. We've just lost another left back in training this week, Trevor Clark, so he's not going to be playing tomorrow. I'm just trying to think who else there is. I can't remember. We've got one other in long-term plans.
It's not that I'm wishing injury upon anybody, but it's weirdly reassuring that you're saying this as well, because honestly, there was a spell of games, I think it was like 6 or 7 in a row, possibly even longer. We had an injury per game, someone going off with an injury, and it was just getting so frustrating. But this is happening to all clubs, and we have covered on our streams, and I've spoken to some other fans, with that disjointed season last season, with pre-season not where it usually is, with the games coming thick and fast now, the players really are suffering now, aren't they? In terms of that, it's I do wonder whether there'll be a more lasting impact actually as well once we do go back to normal.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it's this season where they've reduced the squad size to 25. I think kind of a maximum squad of 25. I think, might be wrong. I don't know whether that was in place before, but I think it was this season. But they've obviously increased the number of substitutes you can have on the bench. Well, that's fine if you've got any. But if 7 or 8 of your 25 are out of action, which is not sort of even in a normal season would be possible. This, as you said, this season with the volume of games and how quickly they're coming around, it's just it's not a surprise at all. So.
No. Well, before we move on to the players in your team then, Mick, I'm going to come back into the comments and just pick up some of these. So Ollie Pot 3000, my dad is an ex-Miller, played in the 90s, but living on Brockhall as a kid, was always going to be a Rovers fan, hoping for 3 points. Ollie, tell us who your dad was.
Yeah, tell us who he was.
Yeah, I'm sure Mick will remember him. So let us know who he was in the comments.
Please do.
Mark Whittle's asked a question here. Mick, do you think that other clubs are going to look at Paul Warne in the future if he carries on the good work?
He's a Norwich lad, is Paul. He came from Norwich, played at, I think it was Diss Town before he went across to Wigan. And I think he's always sort of said that Norwich is his home. And I think if Norwich came a calling, he would be interested. And the thing about Norwich is they're a bit of a Watford, aren't they, in terms of the managers? Although having said that, they've been a little bit more consistent over the last couple of years. But I think clubs might be interested in him. Yeah, whether he would go is another matter. I think the only place he would go probably is Norwich.
Norwich. Yeah, it's an interesting. Yeah, I could see that if they were, and it would feel like the right move for him because I'm sure he's very loyal to Rotherham as well, isn't he? So it's going to have to be the right move. Yeah,
he's been here a long time.
Yeah,
a long time.
FM Works has asked if he can play a game for you, Mick, given your injury record. So
yeah, no problem.
That's a tongue-in-cheek comment there. Luke Kimberley agreeing that the injuries are an ongoing issue for all clubs. Squad depth more important than ever. And then Ollie Potter's come back. It was Nathan Peel, Mick. If you remember.
Peel, yes, I do remember him. Yeah. Wow.
He's come on further here. So Nathan Peel had a loan spell, signed permanently, ravaged by injuries, but he loved his time at the club back then.
Yeah, it was. When was it? In the 90s? Back in the 90s. Crikey, I can't remember last week. I'm trying to remember who the manager was. I know who the managers were. It would have been Mick Harford, Alan Nill, that sort of time, Ronnie Moore. It was just when we were starting to get into that difficult period financially with our previous chairman, unlike your previous chairman was a bit, or as your previous chairman was a very rich man, but ours didn't want to spend any of it. So,
yeah, the Jack Walker we're obviously forever grateful for what he did for Rovers, definitely.
Yeah.
So, Mick, with the greatest respect, Rotherham have probably got a lot of players that not many people know about at this level. So, could you just talk to us about your danger men and the players to look out for tomorrow?
Dan Barlaser is your man from midfield. We signed him. I say we signed him. We bought him from Newcastle in the closed season, and we kind of robbed him really rather than bought him. I don't know. I think we paid about 300,000 for him, and we were expecting. He'd been on loan with us last season, and we obviously wanted to keep him. He went back up there, played a few games for Newcastle in the pre-season. We put a bid in for him, and we were expecting it to be blown out of the water, and we were looking at £1 million plus. And I think we got him for about 300,000. So we came running back down at M1 with a mask and stripy shirt on. It was like, wow. He is a very, very good player. He's a young kid. He's still only young like the rest of them, but he's that quarterback, central midfielder. He rarely misses a pass. He is absolutely outstanding on his day, which is most weeks. But occasionally he'll have a little drop off. So he's one of the men to watch. Ben Wiles is another lad who is a central midfielder. However, he's also a right winger, a left winger, and a left back. And he's currently playing left wing back on the basis that we haven't got anybody else who can play there. He is, by all accounts, all the players are saying that he is the best player that they've ever played with at our club. The players themselves, they absolutely rate him 100%, and he is an absolute grafter. He's a young lad, Rotherham lad. I like him a lot. He's a good player, but he'll be playing probably left wing back tomorrow night. And the other one really to watch out for me has been our man of the match last couple of games, and certainly on Saturday was Matt Olasunde, who is a right wing back. Came from Man United. He's an American lad. He's like absolute grease lightning. He really is a really, really good player. So those are three really, I guess, standout players. But after Saturday, you know what? I can't follow any of them. Even Richard Wood. We've got Richard Wood at central defence, who's 35, I think. And he keeps having a rush of blood to head and thinking he's Messi, and we're finding out left wing somewhere or whatever. But he's a very, very experienced head. So I could go through them all. Honestly, Ryan, I could go through them all because the way that the potential that virtually all of them, except Woody's got no potential anymore. He's been there, he's seen it, he's done it, and he is what he is. He's a good, solid, professional, centre back. We've got another lad who plays alongside him, Michael Heckway at the back. I'm going on and on here. I'm sorry, I really am. But
no, you're fine. It's exact. I asked you it for a reason because I don't know much about these players, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. So that's with the greatest respect to Rotherham.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Heckwi's he's a centre back, and he, for me, is probably a Premier League player in waiting. He really is a really good, really good, strong centre half. Rarely puts a foot wrong. When he does, it's a howler like. But that's the same for any centre half, isn't it? It's like a goalkeeper. So yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm just trying to think who else. The front three seems to change every game. We've got the big lad up front, Michael Smith, who we got off the bench at Bury when they were going bust. He'd not played at Bury, and we brought him in, and he's a proper centre forward, with the exception of the fact that he didn't really score very many. But he holds the ball up and he puts himself in about. He runs and he presses, and he's that first line of defence. And he's he's a very, very, very good League One player, bottom of the Championship player. If he added goals to his game, he'd be, he'd fly. But again, he's a young lad, a youngish lad. I just noticed on the comments there, somebody's mentioned Freddie Ladapo. He's not out of favour. No, he's not out of favour. He's just, I don't know whether anybody, whether he's played at Blackburn or played against Blackburn, but he's a difficult player. Is Freddie, in that he's a difficult player to really, really get behind and like as a player. His work rate's not up to the scratch of or wasn't. I'll rephrase that. It wasn't up to the level that a lot of the other players was. So it tended to sort of make him stand out a little bit as not really been involved. He gets in the right places at the right time, but his decision making at times on the ball, he's got some work to do on that. Having said that, he is our top scorer for the season. So, and Matt Crooks is the other one. Sorry, I'm going on, aren't I?
No, you're all right, because I'm just going to... I'll ask the Rovers fans, actually, rather than me Googling it. Did Freddie Ladapo play for us or play against us in the Plymouth game when we played Plymouth away in League One? Was he at Plymouth in the League One season we shared?
He certainly was at Plymouth, yeah.
So he might well have played against us in a very horrendous away day that we had, Mick. It was
right.
We were 17 games unbeaten. I actually went to that game on my own, travelled right down to Plymouth, and we lost 2-0. Awful performance. It was so bad I just stood and laughed at the end, just like, I've driven all this way. How funny. Yeah. Freddie Ladapo might have played that game.
If he scored, obviously, let me know if anybody knows if he scored. I'll pop a call through to Warney and get him to start tomorrow.
So someone do a Google. Luke, you're watching. Google whether Freddie Ladapo played against us in that 2-0 defeat. And I don't think he scored. I don't recall him scoring, but you might have played.
Yeah, Plymouth.
Yeah, FM Works has confirmed. There we go. So, Mick, this is going to be a game that Rovers are expected to win, again, with the greatest respect to Rotherham. We've lost the last two. We need to start getting back onto some form. So where are the areas that Rovers are going to be able to exploit Rotherham tomorrow?
That's a very good question. It depends how we play. In my view, if we can keep the level of performance up that we played on Saturday, I think you might have some. I mean, it depends where your strengths lie. I've not really watched anything of Blackburn at all this season. Getting in behind Woody is probably the way forward. He'll play. If he plays the same formation, which he's probably got to do because he ain't got any other players. So we played a 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, dependent on in and out of possession on Saturday, and it really worked well. But you've got Woody in that middle there, who's not blessed with a lot of pace. So that is an area that could be exploited. At the side of him, he's got Angus Mcdonald, who started the season off really, really well on the left-hand side of that three at the back. But he's had a bit of a dip in form since he got that sending off that red card against Norwich. He's come back and he's not quite the player that he was. So maybe that side of the back three is an area that could be exploited with a little bit of pace. But having said that, if Ben Wiles plays out there at the left, he's very, very quick. Michael Heckwe is very, very quick. And as I alluded to earlier on, Matt Olasunde is just like, I don't know, he's got to be very close to 10 seconds, 100 metres.
Wow.
As his Chio, unfortunately, is out. So those two are like lightning. So, yeah, Woody is probably the man to aim for, but not too hard because.
Well, Adam Armstrong is due a goal and a performance, and he's obviously got bags of pace, so he might be the one to exploit Wood. Luke's come back and said, don't think he played in that game after a quick Google search. So thanks, Luke, for checking that. So, Mick, what's been your views on Rovers this season? Obviously, you got close to us a few seasons ago in League One and the Championship. So, what's your views on us observing from afar at the moment, and how we've started and how we are?
Well, you got off to an absolute flyer, didn't you? An absolute flyer. You were scoring for fun. And then it seems to have dropped off a little bit since then. And obviously, like you said, I had this conversation with Watford last week, and he was asking me what I thought of Watford. I tend not to look at who we played until, the sort of on the day almost. I don't really want to start worrying about, who's going to do this, who's going to, what's going to happen. I'm too old for that kind of thing now. I just take it as it comes. But yeah, your start was electric. You've dipped off. Sooner or later, that's going to pick back up again. I'm sure. I'm just hoping it's after tomorrow, frankly. We've not won 2 games on the trot in the Championship for as long as I can remember. I can't remember. I think the last time we won 2 games on the trot in the Championship was not last time we were up here, not the time before, but the time before that with Warnock. Took us, kept us up. When we won, I think we won the last 5 or 6 games of the season. I think that's the last time. So it's going to be 6 years. So, I mean, the odds are that despite your leagues, your positional superiority and probably ability as well, despite those things making you favourites, the fact that we haven't won 2 on trot just cements that, really.
Yeah, you've just said the worst thing to a superstitious Rovers fan. So thanks for that one, Mick. I just stuff like that just really, like you say, you're not worrying about the opposition until the day of. I'm going to be worrying now for the rest of my just stuff like that. It's written in the stars, isn't it? Yeah. So the final thing that I like to do on this show, Mick, and I might need to look to Rovers fans again to help me out. I like to do a link between Rovers and the club that we are playing, particularly to a member of the playing team. And there's been a couple of clubs this season where there's been no current members of the squad, unless someone can tell me different in the comments. So what I'm going to ask you instead is just for your opinions on Matt Derbyshire. He had some time at Rotherham, and he came through the youth academy at Rovers and had a good spell at us in the Premier League before lots of other clubs. How did he do at Rotherham, and how's he regarded in his time there? Yeah,
we liked Matty Derbyshire. We liked him a lot. He scored a lot of goals for us. And he was just he was a goal scorer, wasn't he? I mean, I think he's out in Cyprus now, I think. We really like Matty Derbyshire. Good player, really, really good player. And helped us get, sort of into the position where we are now, where I think it was Callum on the chat there was saying, we're happy being a trampoline in between the 2 divisions. It was the likes of Matty Derbyshire that got us to the position where we were able to do that. Not particularly happy with it, Callum, by the way, but it is what it is. We are realistic, like I said right at the beginning. But Matty Derbyshire was a good lad. One of the links I can remember, Bobby Mims, was at Blackburn, wasn't he? When was he up there when you were in the Premier League?
He was, in the early Premier League years. Yeah,
he came from. I think you got him from us. I think you got him from Rotherham, Bobby. Richie Smallwood. Is he still playing, Richie?
So he's gone to Hull City now. He was absolutely critical for our League One season to have someone like Smallwood in centre mid, and I think he played near enough every game. He might have played every game, actually. Someone will be able to tell me that in the comments. He was pivotal and got the name King of Ewood for a reason, just because he really just, in that midfield area, just the combative midfield nature that he is. I think, to be honest, he did get found out a little bit at Championship level, in terms of where Mowbray was trying to take the team and our playing style. We just probably progressed beyond Smallwood a little bit, which was a real shame. And, his game time last season wasn't as much, and he left Rovers, with our blessing, and really happy to see that he's captain of Hull, and hopefully he can get promoted with them as well, because he had a real big impact on our side. That season we got relegated, we had the potential to really disintegrate into some chaos, and the signings of Bradley Dack and Richie Smallwood, though Dack will get all the headlines right because of his goals. But Richie Smallwood, his contribution was immense, phenomenal. I think he played with like 6 or 7 different central midfield partners as well because of injuries and other stuff going on. So he was a linchpin in that side. So we've got very happy memories of Richie Smallwood.
Yeah, we love Richie as well, very much so.
Yeah, just a great, honest pro as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
it's what you want in any footballer.
Yeah.
Before we finish the show and go into our predictions, I'm just going to scroll back up these comments and see what's been said here. So Ollie Potter's found a game that Ladapo did play in the EFL Trophy game for Oldham against our under-23s in 16-17, and he played 45 minutes. So we have played against Freddie Ladapo.
Ollie, have you got nothing better to do with your life than look at Oldham's under-23s?
I think it was our under-23s actually.
Sorry.
When it was the Johnston's Paint or whatever name it became, we got invited to submit our under-23 squads into that. So it was our under-23s.
I take that back then, Ollie.
Against Oldham is what I think that game refers to.
Yeah.
And then what else have we got here? Stephen Mason played with Matt Derbyshire, I'm presuming. Really fast player he was. Luke Kimberley, love Matt Derbyshire, great Harwood legend. Callum Robinson, Rotherham's always a nice team to play. Best of luck for you guys. Hope you stay up. Luke Kimberley, Smallwood the General. He'll always be forever the King of Ewood, Callum Robinson. And then Abby Sahai, he didn't get a yellow for 6 games, so he doesn't get the limit ban. I don't know what that's referring to, Abby. You'll have to remind me. Sorry, my brain is very slow tonight.
I can't believe that Richie Smallwood went 6 games without getting a yellow card. That's not going to have happened.
I think that's what it means. So
I don't believe it.
Abby, just sorry, my brain is not catching up, so just qualify that one for me. So Mick, we have reached the part of the show where we do our predictions on the game tomorrow. I put you on the spot, and I will also give my prediction as well. So talk us through how you think the game is going to go, what you think your score prediction is.
Well, we do this obviously on our podcast as well, and mine was 1-1. But I'll be optimistic. I'd like to think that we could. It depends. Like I said to you earlier on, it depends which team turns up. If it's the one against Coventry, then like I say, you literally are going to get a bucket full. If it's the one that was there on Saturday, I'd like to think we're going to get something out of the game. So I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say it's going to be the same team, and I'm going to say 1-1.
1-1, okay. I think this game has possibly always been targeted by Mowbray. He really talked up the last 3 games that we've had. Brentford away, Bristol City away, Norwich at home. He called them a trilogy of games to see where we are.
Yeah, tough run.
Very tough run, and we've only got 1 point out of those 3 games. So I think this game has potentially always been targeted as one. Right, we need to get back on track, potentially, if we've not got a good points return out of that. Obviously, we're coming off the back of 2 defeats on the spin as well, which hopefully will motivate the players as well. I am expecting Rovers to maybe do a business-like performance, Mick, just something to get the job done. It might not necessarily be high scoring, high octane, just something that's professional, get the job done. So I think 2-0. I think Rotherham are going to give us a good game, but I'm expecting some focus. I'm expecting just to get the win, and that's it. That's what I'm thinking there. Thank you, Rovers fans, for preempting that I was going to ask you all to also make your predictions. So thank you. Abby, sorry. In our League One season, you didn't get a yellow for 6 games.
I don't believe that. I'm not having that, Abby. No chance. I'm going to Google that when I finish the next. I'm not believing it. I just don't believe it.
Yeah. And Abby's actually also come in. He did play in goal for us as well against West Brom away.
Wow.
Mick as well. Yeah, we... that was an interesting game in our first season back, I believe it was, where we had an injury to Raya, had made all the subs, so Smallwood went in goal and played excellently, so that was good. Wow. So score predictions wise then, Mick's going 1-1. I am going 2-0. Mark Whittle is going 3-2 Rovers. FM Works is 3-1 Rovers. Would love an attacking 4-4-2, but think Moby will stick 4-3-3. I think he's going to stick to that formation for a while, actually, FM Works. Dizzy Thumbs 0-0 in a snoozer.
How about that, Dizzy? No worries.
Callum Robinson 1-0 Ayala goal 85th minute. Luke Kimberley 3-0 for me this one, a must win. Armour back on the score sheet. Hope you stay up this season, Mick. All the best. A well run football club for the fans. Absolutely, Luke. Magistri 1-0 Rovers from a defender on the 40th minute. Magistri, which defender? Go on, put your flag to the mast and tell us which defender. Ollie Pott 3-0 Rovers. Alexander Haven 2-1 Rovers win. Abby Sahar 4-0. Abby's gone for the biggest scoreline so far there, 4-0. So there we go. I think it'll be closer. I think it'll be closer than 4-0. I think it's going to be I think you're going to press us like Barnsley did, but I'm expecting us just to get the job done and as I say, that professional type performance. So, Mick, that is it. Thank you for joining us tonight. I really love these shows. Every time I speak to an opposition fan, I love it. I just love getting the insight on the other teams. And I know our fans and followers do as well, because, you know, with the greatest respect to Rotherham, you're a club that goes under the radar because you don't get those Sky Sports headlines. So,
well, we're happy with that.
No, you are. But it's been really great that you've spoken about Rotherham and let us know your players, those players that we don't know, those pacey players down the wings, you know, they might cause us some problems. So we can look out for them tomorrow night. A few other predictions coming in. Magistri has gone for Darragh Lenihan as the goal scorer. Luke Kimberley on the wind-up saying that Magistri is going for Thomas Kaminski, which is a running joke from Saturday's pre-stream. Any other predictions? Stephen Mason's gone 2-1. Abby Sahar is really pulling your chain here now, mate.
Yeah, no,
a 13 game.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So if you Google the Lancashire Telegraph Richard Sharp article on the 24th of July, you might be able to see that one. So there you go, Mick. You find that one out for yourself. But
Richard Sharp, is that Richie and Richie? I'm not wearing it.
Richard Sharp, he's a genuine person, I promise.
Okay,
Rich Sharp. But no, Mick, as I say, thank you for joining us this evening and for giving us your time. Really great insight into Rotherham. As I say, our fans really love finding out about the other clubs and seeing how the game's going to pan out. And as others have said on the stream, really best of luck to Rotherham. You know, really good, well-run club. And I like to see that rewarded, you know, and let's hope you do stay up, particularly with some of the other clowns that are down there and whatever.
Yeah. Well, we've got Derby on Saturday, so we'll have Wayne down at New York Stadium. So
brilliant. And Rovers fans, thank you for joining us this evening and giving us your comments as usual. If you're not following us on Twitter, we are Rovers_chat on Twitter. Please hit that subscribe button for our YouTube channel. It is Rovers Chat on YouTube. We are marching towards 900 subscribers now. We really want to get to 1,000. So spread the word, subscribe to our channel and keep up to date with all of our content. Just as a little plug for something that's happening on the 23rd of December, if you've not seen it, it's the Big Fat Rovers Quiz for Christmas, which is a great big collaboration between Rovers Chat, the BRFCS forums, the Lancs Telegraph, Lancs Live, as we try and raise some money for the Salvation Army. So we're really looking forward to that. And lots of hard work is going on behind the scenes. There will be some special guest appearances, one of which we announced today. So do go and check out the Rovers Twitter account if you've not and don't know who that is. That's an incentive to go and look on our Twitter site. It's a big announcement. We're really proud of that one. And we look forward to bringing you that quiz on the 23rd. So before we go, I will just have a look into the comments. We will finish with this one. Alexander Haben. Thank you, Mick. All the best for the season. Yeah, that is the sentiment that we will echo. Thank you for joining us, Rovers fans. We will see you pre-match tomorrow for our pre-match live stream. And of course, post-match for the post-match live stream, we will finish with our sponsor message from 6yardsout.com. Goodbye, all.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.